the deal's not a deal until the check has been cashed and cleared in the bank.
Have you ever pitched a completed film to Netflix?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, the first one was completed. I mean, I pitched it before, but then I had to pitch it after to get it sold. The second one was a completed film, Kiss and Cry. That was pitched after the fact. I pitched. Do you want me to go through them all?
We've already asked it, so that's why I wasn't
I
sure.
pitched another one that they said no to, which I think is my best film ever, but they didn't think so, and they said no, and
They didn't tell you why?
No.
Wasn't a fit for the audience?
Even if they did, honestly, I honestly don't even hear why. Like, because I feel like it's just being polite, whatever it is. Like, if you say it's not a fit for your audience, then their audience is so big, everything's a fit for their audience. They own the entire world audience. So, I mean, if they say it's not an entertaining movie, then truthfully, I guess my ego's too big to believe that, because I've done so many screenings with it. I know it's entertaining to audiences. I mean, I've been in so many festivals with the movie, and I've watched real audiences, not friendly audiences, people who know me, like, you know, complete strangers, watch and critique the movie. So I know it's an entertaining movie. So when somebody says it's not an entertaining movie, then I say I respectfully disagree, but you get to say it because you own the audience and I don't. But that's okay. That's their prerogative. It's their business.
When we played that one little game before, which I really liked, where you said, what's your movie? And now I need you to fill 100 seats from people that are not friends and families, co-workers, whatever. Do you ever run that by your students? And do they?
Yeah, that's right. That's right out of my class.
Oh, okay, great. Okay, and where do they?
That's like lesson 2 in my class.
Oh, I love it. I like that game. I actually should become a board game.
Well, no, it's because it really gets you to think critically, and it makes the stakes a little higher to really, really dig in and say, okay, who would I put into those seats?
And what do they say? Like, what are some of the ideas that these students have come up with?
Well, it depends on the movie. You know, like, you know, I don't want to get into too many details because, you know, I don't want to, it's not fair to my students, whatever.
Sure,
but
sure.
Like one of the groups did Pulp Fiction.
Okay.
You know, so they went into a lot of detail of who that moviegoer would be. Now, there's probably tons of research on the internet that they probably could have borrowed from, I don't know. But they thought about, you know, what age group, what demographic, you know, what that type of movie would attract, that type of thing. So, you know, and they gave me reasons of why they thought that was the people. And it doesn't matter, again, whether it's right or wrong, because there aren't right and wrong answers. It's about the reasons why you do the critical thinking you do. So they say, you know, they could say that's for 12-year-old girls. And as long as they tell me why they think that and it's rational, then they'll get a good mark. Now, I totally disagree. That movie is obviously not for 12-year-old girls because there's so much violence and swearing and all that kind of stuff. But they wouldn't say that, obviously. But they might say, you know, males 50 to 70. And I might say, well, you know, it's probably males, you know, 30 to 50. But, you know, tell me why you think 50 to 70. And they might say, because we think that those males are more mature and have more time and would like the violence better or something like that. As long as the reasoning's good, it's about the critical thinking because it's constantly changing, as I said, right? So I want to create critical thinkers who can be creative and just be rational. Now, they'll work in teams ultimately when they're in the working world, and it's good to have different input and different ideas. You know, and as long as you're not crazy and delusional, you know, and coming, as long as it's about thinking about it. That's what learning is about thinking critically about something and trying to understand it best you can. It's not about right and wrong necessarily in this. This isn't math. There's not a right answer and a wrong answer. This is about how you come to it.
Was there a waiting period after you pitched Netflix the first time?
Yeah. You mean until I got an answer? I had 6 weeks or so, something like that. They had to circulate the movie internally a bit and think about it a bit. I can't remember exactly, but it wasn't a long, like it wasn't more than that. Maybe 4 weeks, something like that. It was relatively soon. You know, you're sitting on pins and needles the whole time. You're so anxious. But, you know, they do, fair is fair. You know, they have a million things to look at, and they have to get opinions of few people.
When Netflix said yes to you, what did that yes mean?
It meant that I just became a real filmmaker. No, it meant like, it's surreal at first, to be honest with you. It's like, holy smokes. But first of all, you got to understand, I am so skeptical about everything because I've been in business by myself for so long that I've seen so many deals fall apart. So the truth is, and I hate to say it, the truth is, and I do this with everything. So people, if anybody who's ever worked for me knows what I'm about to say. It's like, the deal's not a deal until the check has been cashed and cleared in the bank. So even though you have a deal in writing, even though it's all signed, sealed, delivered, you've delivered the movie, when the money comes and it clears, then it's a deal. And everybody says, like, why? Can't you just celebrate? They said yes, you have a contract, here it is, they're taking delivery. I said, yeah, but I've seen lots of deals there where it falls apart at the end, the very end, even though it's, and what are you gonna do? You're gonna sue Netflix, your little like lowly filmmaker, and you're gonna take them to, and you'll probably settle or something like that if the deal were to fall through. But I kind of wait until the very end. So as much as I was thrilled and happy, it wasn't done until it was paid for.
Do you think that's a good motto to go by? Do you think too many people are trusting and get their hopes up, and so that's when you said you'd been through so much and so much rejection?
Yeah.
It seasoned you in a way that you're more apt to close any gaps that...
Yeah, it's not a good way to be. I mean, it's good to be able to really celebrate and everything like that, but the word you use is right, it's seasoned. That comes with experience. I mean, generally when you've been in it enough time, that's any business, not just the film business, but when you've done enough times and you've seen sort of what the scenarios are and how it plays out, I just don't want to set myself up for disappointment. And I understand, especially when it's new territory. Like, it wouldn't happen now with Netflix. Now I've got enough experience and I know who they are and they're a big enough company and everything like that. But back then it was the first deal. I didn't know what to expect. And I'd seen a deal go sour, a really good deal that I had done before a few years earlier, went sour at the 11th hour. Like, it was a done deal and it went sour. And I was in a position to, sue, but suing's not a good route to take because it's costly and you don't want to ruin a relationship, So I guess I'm a little jaded. No, I'm a lot jaded, but for good reason. I have a lot of experience. I'm super seasoned, and you get jaded when you're seasoned. But I do still allow myself to celebrate when the time comes, but I choose when the time is.
How many guaranteed ways are there for a filmmaker to get their film to Netflix?
Guaranteed ways? That's a kind of a loaded question almost. Like it's like leading a witness. There's no guarantees. You're talking Netflix. I mean, the only guarantee is, there's two guarantees. One is you're making the movie for Netflix because they hired you. It's a Netflix original and they hired you to make the movie. That's guaranteed because they own the movie and they hired you. Or two is they pre-buy the movie from you based on an idea or a license, which highly, highly, highly is unlikely. Those are the two guarantees. Otherwise, you do it and you hope for the best. But both of those first scenarios are generally Netflix original movies where it's not really your movie, you're just making it for them.
What are some of the non-guaranteed ways to get on Netflix? Just shot in the dark?
Well, the first non-guaranteed way is make a movie, make it really, really good, create a lot of awareness for it. Not necessarily give it away on YouTube for free, but do something that gets a lot of maybe social media activity, something that you do special, or maybe release it or something like that. That's probably the best non-guaranteed way because it will put you in a league where you'll be able to get their attention, because now two things have happened. One is you've made a good movie, it's finished, so you're not pitching them on an idea, you're pitching them on a finished film. And two is you've also gotten an audience, which they want audience. Their business is not about content. Their business is audience. They're in the business of signing subscribers. Remember that. The way they sign subscribers is to create good content. Now, they're also in the content business now, so someday the value of their content library is going to be worth a ton of money. It probably already is right now. But the major asset is subscribers, and they create good content to get subscribers. So if you can show to them that you already have like a ton of interest, and maybe some of those people will become subscribers if they put your movie on their service, that's a gigantic plus for them. You know, like if you're dealing with, say, a niche audience, right? And they don't maybe have that niche audience or think that they could sign another, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 subscribers based on that movie, they're going to be all over that. So that's the best non-guaranteed way to do it. But it's, you're making a movie, it's super risky, and they also might say no, and they may never see the movie. Like, how do you get it to them, right? You got to have an agent or a manager or somebody, or the best way, as I said last time, is to go through an existing distributor who already has a relationship with them. But the best way to get that distributor is to have that audience, to have that awareness, to have that notoriety already. It's not just, this is where the narrative is different. It's not good enough anymore to say, hey, I have a great movie. It's not good enough even to have laurels from, low-end film festivals. I mean, if you have the Audience Choice Award from Toronto or Cannes, yeah, you're good. But who gets that? One movie, a year, and probably, so chances are you're not going to have that. What's good enough is you've done some marketing and created a lot of awareness, and all of a sudden the distributor / who's going to talk to Netflix can say, look how much interest we already have. We're not only are we bringing a movie, we're bringing an audience with it.
Seems like a lot of authors are doing that as well. So it's very similar. They don't get signed sometimes by these big publishing houses until they've proven that they have a big social media following.
Right.
I mean, I could be wrong about that.
But the good news is, here's the good news for indie filmmakers, if we're going to take one piece of good news, is because of the digital world, you can actually do that now. You can actually reach out to the audience yourself. Now, it's a super crowded marketplace because they're inundated with all kinds of stuff. But, 10, 20 years ago, you could not connect with the world, with individuals around the world. Now you can. Like I say, it's just hard to get through all the clutter, but at least it exists, the technology exists to do it. So if you got a message and you know how to work it and manage it and maybe create this niche area where you could get it out there, at least it's available to do it. Whereas before you had to do generic television advertising or print advertising or whatever and spend a ton of money and not even know if you're connecting with your audience.
Is that something that your students are concerned with? How do they kind of rise above the noise? Because there's so much we're inundated with every day.
Yeah, I don't think young people are as concerned about that because they're part of the noise. They are the noise, right? I see it as noise because I'm used to other stuff, but they are the noise, right? So they're way more connected than I am, way more up to speed on all the platforms. It's constantly changing, obviously. I'm not hip. I'll tell you the funniest thing. The one compliment my oldest son paid to me, so the back-ended compliment was, Dad, the only thing cool about you is that you actually know that you're not cool. Oh. I took it as a compliment.
Okay.
No, that was a total compliment. You know what? It took so much pressure off me. Like, I didn't want to have to chase around and try to, pretend that I knew all these platforms and that I was on Instagram and doing this and all that kind of stuff. I don't want to do TikTok videos. I just don't want to do that stuff. I recognize that it is super important and that there's a gigantic world out there and it's very big for marketing. I recognize it totally. But at my age and who I am, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hire people or, I'm going to circle myself with people who are good at it, who want to do it, who enjoy it more than I do. So I'm not saying it's not important because it totally is. I'm just saying I know who I am and I don't want to try to be some cool Instagram, person, or I don't want to be a YouTube influencer. I guess maybe through these videos I'm a little bit, but
yeah, I think you are.
No, but what I'm saying is I don't have to do these silly weekly videos that are gonna do crazy stuff to make me. I don't even want to do weekly webcasts or podcasts. I'm not interested. So that's what he meant. At least you know who you are and you're not interested in that. Now, having said that, the young people are super interested in all that kind of stuff. And it's great because the tools are, and listen, there's a lot of people who might be in my class or, who are in that generation who are going to change the world, right? They're going to come up with new technologies or they're going to work in companies that apply these technologies and do special things that are going to, change the way people think and and new habits and new ways. I mean, look what's gone on in the last year with the whole Black Lives Matter and the whole, I mean, these are social movements that change the way people think and the whole world. And so that's great, you know, that's the generation that's going to embrace that and take charge, and hopefully we'll do good with it.
That's great that you have so many sort of ears and eyes that are able to tell you different things, whether it's students or your sons, and you can kind of see them in action with whatever, on whatever platform,
Yeah.
or, you know, because some people don't, and you know, there's so many things that are changing and evolving. Oh, this platform's not no one's using this now. So
you know, it's funny for my students. So when we were doing the marketing part and I was talking about social media, I literally said to them at the beginning of that lecture, I said, what I'm about to tell you is what I know, but I'm pretty darn certain, hopefully that I'm right, that you know way more than I do. So I'm just going to go through the motions, and in your papers, I'm going to learn more from you in this section than you're going to learn from me. Because I know that you are active on these platforms and I'm not. Now, we talked about buying Facebook ads and stuff like that, which is, you know, so I don't do it, I hire people to do that. So I understand how it all works and how to target and do that kind of thing. And they didn't know about some of that stuff. But they're going to be way better at it than I am. And it's way more savvy, because that's who they are.
each deal that you've received on Netflix, has it improved each time? You have 3 films.
Yes, it has.
Okay.
Yeah. That might be a combination of a couple things. One is I got lucky. I mean, it could be that I just got lucky that they were paying more each time. 2 is maybe the films are better, but I don't think they're necessarily better in terms of the production quality. But I think maybe it's because they see that my films are getting an audience and they're maybe worth a bit more. So they've been fair, really fair, because they control that side. You know, you can have a little bit of a discussion, but for the most part, they say, here's where you're going to fit in. And if you say no, they got 50 other films waiting in line to fit in. So there's a little bit of wiggle room, but not a heck of a lot. But at least if they say this is what the film is worth, and they recognize that the value is there because they have an audience, and they know it because they had an audience for the previous one. So it's similar audiences. So that's maybe why they've been fair like that.
Have you made any pitches to Netflix during the pandemic?
Yeah. Yeah, of course I have. I mean, you know, the pandemic doesn't, I mean, I can't shoot anything, but I did pitch them on the movie I want to shoot, and, you know, they're interested, but I told them I'm not shooting during the pandemic, so maybe that's my bad, but I think everybody understands that, right? But it was another scenario where it looks good, sounds good, we like the vision, we like the style of movies you make and everything like that, but you're going to need to make it and make sure you make it well. It's still, look at, do I have a track record with them? Yeah. Do I have relationships? Yeah. It's still a new adventure every time though, you know, because I'm a little tiny speck of dust in their universe, and I know it. You know, maybe I shouldn't belittle myself that much, but so I don't take for granted. You know, you got to deliver, and it's got to be good, and it's got to resonate. And by the way, I still plan on doing all that audience awareness stuff that I talked about, even more so now that I'm really aware of it, and real niche, and lots of marketing before it goes to them if they're going to take it, so that I can bring audience to them. I want to be able to say, the major pitches to them is like, yeah, here's the story and it's a good movie and it's going to resonate, but the major pitches, look at the audience that I think I'm going to be able to bring to you because of all the marketing I've done.
What constitutes niche in the eyes of a platform like Netflix or Hulu or Disney?
It's specific, like, you know, I tend to make family movies and primarily sports dramas, so this one's also a sports drama based on a true person, you know, like a true life story. So niche would be sort of what the sport is, who the person is that we're talking about, if there's some sort of like community around that person that would be interesting. You know, to use a very, very big example, I mean, obviously this is way bigger than what I'm talking about, but so Netflix recently released the Tiger Woods, you know, 2-part series, and it wasn't it was some filmmaker made it about Tiger Woods, and it was really, really well done. As a matter of fact, I can't believe how well done it was based on the fact that he wasn't part of it. Like it wasn't, you know, an authorized biopic. They did it based on footage they got. Anyways, I love golf, and so look at the niches there. I mean, first of all, you've got the celebrity of Tiger Woods in the sports world. You've got the whole golf world, because pretty well anybody who's a golfer is going to watch that. So there's, you know, you deal with the PGA, the Professional Golf Association, and, you know, there's lots of associations, you know, like I remember the Southern California Golf Association, everybody heard about it through that. So we all got it, very niche target marketing to the golf world, obviously to the overall sports world, and then, you know, the general stuff is to the celebrity world, because he's a major celebrity, you know, in his own right, even though he's an athlete, but, you know, he's probably more well known in the world than any actor is, or, you know, way up there with them. So, but, you know, as I say, that's an extreme example, because you're talking like probably the most well-known athlete in the world. But the niche is the golf thing, right? And so even if it wasn't Tiger, if it was some unknown golfer, you still could have gone into the golf world, because generally, like, I guarantee I know a lot more golfers than you know on the PGA Tour.
I think so.
So if they had used somebody who wasn't the notoriety of Tiger, but, you know, somebody who I was interested in as a golfer, they could target me. And that alone would be, and, you know, and then it's also demographics. You know, generally a lot of people who golf are more so male than female, but, you know, it goes both ways. But, you know, there's ways to target that.
Sure, and that's a good demographic, because that's someone that's going to have disposable income to spend on things.
Generally.
So even if you're not putting it on a platform where it's just whatever, $15 a month, and that might be a good place to start getting someone to.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Sell to.
I mean, look, Netflix has such a big audience that I always assume everybody's got Netflix, but they don't. But I always assume everybody does. But you know, I would imagine that, you know, there were a lot of golfers who maybe don't have a Netflix subscription that maybe did sign up for a Netflix subscription just to watch that special. And
Sure.
it was really well done, so yeah, they probably got their money's worth. Now, will they stay subscribers? I don't know. That's up to Netflix to start to profile them and feed them other golf stuff or whatever stuff. You know, Netflix is good at that.
Right, suggested
Yeah.
films.
Yeah.